Maria Torres wiped down the last table at the coffee shop where she had worked for the past 8 years. Her hands moved automatically, following the same routine she had performed thousands of times before. The clock on the wall showed 9:30, and the evening shift was finally coming to an end. She hung up her apron and said goodbye to her co-worker, Jenny, who was already talking excitedly about the concert happening downtown that night. The city streets were buzzing with energy as Maria walked toward the bus stop. Everywhere she looked, people were heading in the same direction, wearing expensive clothes and carrying signs with the name Rebecca Stone written in glittering letters. Rebecca Stone was the biggest pop star in the country, maybe even the world. Her voice had captured millions of hearts, and tonight she was performing at the Grand Arena, just 3 blocks from where Maria worked. Maria had never been to a concert before. Money was always tight, and after paying rent for her small apartment and sending some money back home to her mother in the countryside, there was rarely anything left for entertainment. But tonight was different. Jenny had surprised her with a ticket, saying it was an early birthday present. Maria had tried to refuse, knowing how expensive the tickets were. But Jenny had insisted, pushing the ticket into her hand with a warm smile. As Maria approached the arena, the crowd grew thicker. Young girls screamed with excitement. Couples held hands and talked about their favorite Rebecca Stone songs, and groups of friends took selfies in front of the giant posters. Maria felt out of place in her simple jeans and plain sweater, surrounded by people in designer outfits and perfect makeup. She clutched her small purse tighter and followed the flow of people toward the entrance. Inside the arena, the atmosphere was electric. Thousands of seats formed a semicircle around a massive stage decorated with lights and screens. Maria found her seat in the middle section, not too close but with a clear view of the stage. The people around her were already standing, clapping, and chanting Rebecca's name. The excitement was contagious, and despite her initial nervousness, Maria found herself smiling. The lights suddenly dimmed, and the crowd erupted in screams. Music filled the arena, loud and powerful, making Maria's chest vibrate with each beat. Colorful lights danced across the stage, and then she appeared. Rebecca Stone walked out from behind a curtain of smoke, wearing a sparkling silver dress that caught every light. Her presence was magnetic. Even from a distance, Maria could feel the star's confidence and energy. Rebecca began to sing, and her voice was everything people said it was and more. It was rich and powerful, hitting high notes that seemed impossible, and dropping to emotional lows that made Maria's eyes water. Song after song, Rebecca commanded the stage, dancing, laughing, and connecting with her audience in a way that made each person feel like she was singing directly to them. Maria watched in wonder. She remembered a time when she used to sing, back when she was younger, and life seemed full of possibilities. Her grandmother had always told her she had a gift, a voice that could touch souls. But that was a long time ago, before responsibility and reality had taken over. Now, singing was just a distant memory, something she did quietly in the shower when no one could hear. Halfway through the concert, Rebecca slowed things down. She sat on a stool at the center of the stage with just a single spotlight on her. The crowd quieted, and she began to speak about her journey, about the struggles she faced before becoming famous, and how music had saved her life. Her words were honest and raw, and Maria felt a connection to this stranger on stage who seemed to understand what it meant to dream. Then Rebecca did something unexpected. She stood up and walked to the edge of the stage, looking out into the audience. She said she wanted to do something special tonight, something she had never done before at any of her concerts. She wanted to invite someone from the audience to come up and sing with her. The crowd went wild, everyone raising their hands and screaming, hoping to be chosen. Rebecca's security team brought her a microphone with a long cord, and she walked down the steps from the stage into the audience. People reached out to touch her as she passed, but she moved with purpose, her eyes scanning the crowd. Maria watched from her seat, amazed at how close Rebecca was getting to her section. The star walked down the aisle, smiling at fans, until suddenly she stopped. She was standing right next to Maria's row. Rebecca looked directly at her, and Maria's heart nearly stopped. The star's eyes were bright and searching, and then she smiled. She pointed at Maria and said into her microphone that she wanted her to come up on stage. Maria's face went pale. She shook her head quickly, trying to disappear into her seat. But the people around her were already cheering and pushing her forward. Rebecca extended her hand, still smiling, and said that she had a good feeling about Maria. The crowd was chanting now, encouraging her to go. Maria's legs felt like jelly as she stood up. Her mind was racing with panic and confusion. Why her? Why would this famous singer choose her out of thousands of people? But Rebecca's hand was still extended, waiting, and the entire arena was watching. There was no escape now. Maria's hand trembled as she reached out and took Rebecca's. The superstar's grip was firm and warm, reassuring in a way that did little to calm Maria's racing heart. The crowd parted as Rebecca led her down the aisle toward the stage. Every step felt surreal, like she was walking through a dream. Thousands of eyes followed their movement, cameras flashed from every direction, and the noise of cheering and applause was overwhelming. As they reached the stage stairs, Maria's knees nearly buckled. Rebecca turned to her and leaned in close, so only Maria could hear above the noise. She told her not to worry, that this would be fun, and that she just wanted Maria to be herself. But Maria's mind was blank with terror. She had not sung in front of anyone in over 15 years, and certainly never in front of thousands of people. The stage was much bigger than it looked from the audience. Under the bright lights, Maria felt exposed and small. Rebecca guided her to the center where 2 microphone stands waited. The band members smiled at her encouragingly from their positions, and the backup singers gave her thumbs up. Rebecca asked Maria her name, and when she answered in a barely audible voice, Rebecca repeated it loudly into her microphone so everyone could hear. The crowd cheered Maria's name, and she felt her face burning with embarrassment. Rebecca told the audience that tonight they were going to witness something special. She explained that sometimes she got a feeling about people, an instinct that told her when someone had something extraordinary inside them waiting to come out. She said she had that feeling about Maria the moment she saw her sitting quietly in her seat, and she wanted to give her a chance to shine. The crowd applauded, but Maria could only think about how badly she wanted to disappear. The famous singer asked Maria if she liked to sing, and Maria nodded slightly, not trusting her voice. Rebecca pressed further, asking if she sang at home, and again, Maria nodded. The star smiled and said that was perfect because she wanted Maria to sing with her. Not backup, not harmony, but a real duet. Maria's eyes widened in panic. She finally found her voice and whispered that she could not do it. That she was not a singer, just a regular person who worked at a coffee shop. Rebecca's expression softened. She put a gentle hand on Maria's shoulder and spoke quietly into her microphone so the whole arena could hear. She said that some of the most beautiful voices in the world belonged to regular people who never got the chance to share their gift. She told Maria that she believed in her, even if Maria did not believe in herself yet. The crowd grew quiet, sensing the emotional moment unfolding on stage. Maria felt tears threatening to spill from her eyes. Part of her wanted to run off the stage and never look back, but another part, a part she had buried deep inside years ago, was stirring awake. It was the part that used to dream of singing. The part her grandmother had nurtured with love and encouragement before she passed away. Maria looked out at the sea of faces staring back at her, all waiting to see what she would do. Rebecca must have sensed her internal struggle because she made a decision for both of them. She told the audience they were going to sing a song that everyone knew, something simple and beautiful. She chose a classic ballad that had been covered by countless artists over the years. A song about finding courage in difficult times. The band began to play the opening notes, soft and melodic, and Rebecca started to sing the first verse alone. Her voice filled the arena with its professional polish and control. Maria stood frozen, holding the microphone in her shaking hand. When the first chorus approached, Rebecca gestured for Maria to join in. Maria opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Her throat was tight with fear, and her mind went completely blank on the lyrics even though she had heard this song 100 times. Rebecca did not stop singing. She covered for Maria smoothly, continuing through the chorus alone while giving Maria an encouraging smile. The audience seemed to understand Maria's fear, and instead of booing or laughing, they began to clap in rhythm with the music, showing their support. The sound of their unified clapping created a heartbeat that pulsed through the arena. As the second verse began, something shifted in Maria. She closed her eyes and thought about her grandmother, about the kitchen where they used to sing together while cooking, about the unconditional love and belief her grandmother had always shown her. She thought about all the years she had spent silent, pushing down her dreams to survive, to be practical, to fit into the small safe box she had built around her life. Rebecca sang the second verse, and her voice seemed to be calling to Maria, inviting her into the music. When the chorus came around again, Maria took a deep breath. She opened her mouth, and this time, sound emerged. It was quiet at first, barely audible over the music and Rebecca's voice, but it was there. She was singing. Rebecca heard it and immediately pulled back, lowering her volume to make space for Maria's voice. Encouraged, Maria sang a little louder. The words came back to her, flowing naturally, as if they had been waiting all these years to be released. Her voice was rough at first, unpracticed and uncertain. But there was something genuine about it, something raw and emotional that no amount of professional training could manufacture. The audience heard it too. The energy in the arena shifted, becoming more focused, more attentive. People stopped waving their phones and started really listening. Maria kept her eyes closed, letting the music guide her, letting the words express feelings she had kept locked away for so long. Fear, hope, longing, and determination all poured out through her voice. When the chorus ended and the bridge approached, Maria felt Rebecca step closer to her. The superstar harmonized with her now, not overshadowing but complementing, creating a blend of professional perfection and untrained authenticity. Together, their voices created something neither could achieve alone. The band sensed the magic happening and played with extra passion, supporting the two women at the center of this unexpected moment. The bridge of the song required the singer to reach deep into their emotional core, and Maria found herself connecting with the lyrics in a way she never had before. She sang about broken dreams and finding the strength to try again, and every word resonated with her own life story. Her voice grew stronger, more confident with each line. She was no longer thinking about the thousands of people watching or the cameras recording every moment. She was simply feeling the music and letting it pour out of her. Rebecca moved to the side, giving Maria the spotlight. The superstar watched with genuine amazement as this unknown woman transformed before everyone's eyes. Maria's whole body language changed. Her shoulders straightened, her grip on the microphone became firm and sure, and when she finally opened her eyes, they were shining with emotion and determination. She was no longer the scared coffee shop worker who had been pulled reluctantly onto the stage. She was a singer, claiming her moment. The final chorus approached, and Rebecca joined back in, but this time she let Maria take the lead. Their voices intertwined, with Maria's raw, emotional tone providing the heart and Rebecca's trained precision adding the polish. The combination was magical, creating a sound that sent chills through the audience. People in the crowd began to wipe away tears, moved by the authenticity of what they were witnessing. As the song built toward its conclusion, Maria reached for a high note that she was not sure she could hit. In her mind, she heard her grandmother's voice telling her to trust herself, to let go of fear, and just feel. Maria closed her eyes again and went for it. Her voice soared upward, clear and powerful, hitting the note perfectly and holding it as the music swelled around her. The arena erupted in gasps, and then thunderous applause, even though the song was not yet finished. The music came to its gentle ending, and Maria sang the final line softly, letting the words fade into silence. For a moment, nobody moved. The arena was suspended in that space between performance and reaction. Then the crowd exploded. People jumped to their feet, screaming and clapping with an intensity that matched Rebecca's entrance earlier. But this ovation was different. It was not for a famous star doing what was expected. It was for an ordinary person who had just done something extraordinary. Maria stood frozen, overwhelmed by the response. Rebecca walked over and hugged her tightly, saying something into Maria's ear that the microphone did not catch. When they pulled apart, both women had tears streaming down their faces. Rebecca turned to the audience and raised Maria's arm like a boxing champion, and the cheering grew even louder. Maria looked out at the sea of standing people, all celebrating her, and she could not believe this was real. Rebecca grabbed her microphone and told the audience they had just witnessed the exact reason she loved music. She said music was not about perfection, or fame, or how many records you sold. It was about truth, about emotion, about finding your voice and having the courage to use it. She pointed at Maria and told everyone to remember her name because they had just seen something special. Something that did not happen often, even in a lifetime of concerts. The crowd chanted Maria's name, and camera phones recorded every second. Maria felt like her heart might burst from the strange mix of emotions flooding through her. Joy, disbelief, pride, and a deep sense of release washed over her in waves. She had spent so many years hiding, playing it safe, convincing herself that her dreams were foolish. But standing on that stage, hearing thousands of people respond to her voice, she realized she had been lying to herself. Rebecca asked Maria if she wanted to sing another song, and before Maria could think about it, she said yes. The audience went wild with approval. This time, Rebecca let Maria choose the song. Maria thought for a moment and then asked if they could sing an old folk song her grandmother used to sing. Something from her home region that most people probably did not know. Rebecca smiled and said that was perfect. She asked Maria to teach her the melody. With the band waiting and the audience quiet with anticipation, Maria began to sing the folk song a cappella. Her voice, now warmed up and confident, carried the simple melody through the arena. The song was, in Spanish, telling the story of a woman who left her village to find a better life in the city. Carrying her mother's hopes and prayers with her, it was a song about courage, sacrifice, and never forgetting where you came from. Rebecca listened carefully, learning the melody as Maria sang. Then she joined in, following Maria's lead, adding harmony where it felt natural. The band picked up on the rhythm and began to accompany them softly, with the guitarist adding gentle strumming and the pianist creating a subtle backing. What started as a simple folk song transformed into something powerful and moving. Many people in the audience did not understand the Spanish words, but they understood the emotion. Some people in the crowd who did speak Spanish began to sing along, their voices rising from different sections of the arena to join Maria and Rebecca on stage. The moment became about more than just a performance. It became about connection, community, and the universal language of music that transcends words. As the folk song came to its end, Maria felt different. The scared, uncertain woman who had walked onto this stage 15 minutes ago no longer existed. In her place stood someone who had rediscovered a part of herself she thought was lost forever. She had faced her deepest fear and come out the other side, changed. The years of silence, of convincing herself she was nobody special, of accepting a small, safe life, all of that fell away under the bright stage lights. Rebecca hugged Maria again and whispered that she was incredible. She told the audience that Maria had just given her one of the most memorable moments of her entire career. She asked Maria what she did for work, and when Maria quietly answered that she worked at a coffee shop, Rebecca turned to the crowd with a smile and said that sometimes angels serve coffee before they learn to fly. The crowd laughed warmly at Rebecca's comment, and Maria managed a shy smile through her tears. Rebecca told Maria she could stay on stage for the rest of the show if she wanted, but Maria politely declined. She had already experienced more than she ever dreamed possible, and she did not want to take away from Rebecca's special night. Rebecca understood and walked Maria back toward the stairs, still holding her hand. Before Maria descended, Rebecca stopped her and asked for her phone number, saying she wanted to stay in touch. Maria gave it to her, though part of her did not believe Rebecca would actually call. As Maria made her way back to her seat, the audience continued applauding. People reached out to pat her back and shake her hand. Strangers told her she was amazing and that she had made them cry. When Maria finally reached her row, the people around her made space for her like she was a celebrity. Her legs were shaking as she sat down, and the woman next to her handed her a tissue for her tears. Maria sat in stunned silence as Rebecca returned to her position on stage and continued with the concert. But something had shifted in the arena. The connection between Rebecca and the audience was now even stronger because of what they had all witnessed together. Rebecca performed several more songs, each one met with passionate appreciation. But people kept looking at Maria's section, pointing and taking pictures. Maria tried to make herself small, embarrassed by the attention, yet also feeling a warmth spreading through her chest that she had not felt in years. When the concert finally ended and people began filing out of the arena, Maria was approached by several audience members who wanted to talk to her. They asked about her singing background, whether she had professional training, and if she planned to pursue music seriously. Maria did not know how to answer. A few hours ago, she was just a coffee shop worker. Now, strangers were treating her like she had potential, like she was someone worth paying attention to. Jenny was waiting for her outside the arena, having watched the entire thing from her seat in a different section. She ran up to Maria and hugged her so tightly that Maria could barely breathe. Jenny was talking rapidly, saying she could not believe what had just happened, and that she had filmed everything on her phone. She showed Maria the video, and Maria watched herself on the small screen, seeing a woman she barely recognized singing with confidence and emotion. The two friends walked to the bus stop together, but the night felt different now. The city lights seemed brighter, the air felt fresher, and Maria noticed details she usually overlooked, like the street musician playing guitar on the corner and the couple dancing on the sidewalk. Everything felt more alive, more full of possibility. Jenny kept talking about the performance, replaying her favorite moments, and Maria listened with a smile, still processing everything that had happened. When Maria finally arrived at her small apartment late that night, she stood in the middle of her living room and looked around at her modest life. The worn furniture, the stack of bills on the kitchen counter, the work uniform hanging on the door for tomorrow's shift. Nothing had physically changed, but everything felt different. She walked to her bedroom and looked at herself in the mirror. The same face looked back at her, but her eyes held something new. Hope, maybe, or possibility. She picked up her phone and saw that she already had messages from numbers she did not recognize. Some were from people who had been at the concert, who had somehow gotten her contact information from friends of friends. They congratulated her and said they hoped to hear her sing again someday. Maria read each message with wonder, still not quite believing any of this was real. Unable to sleep, Maria opened her laptop and searched her own name online. Her heart nearly stopped. Videos of her performance were already posted on multiple social media platforms. The clips showed her transformation from terrified to confident, captured her emotional connection to the music, and featured the moment when she hit that perfect high note. The comments sections were filled with praise. Thousands of people from around the world were watching her sing and sharing their reactions. One video was titled "Unknown Woman Shocks Everyone at Rebecca Stone Concert" and already had over 1 million views. Maria watched it, seeing herself through the eyes of strangers. In the video, she looked different than she felt on stage. She looked brave and talented. The comments were overwhelmingly positive. People called her voice pure and authentic. They said she had more emotion in one note than some famous singers had in their entire careers. Some comments asked who she was and where they could hear more of her music. Maria spent hours reading comments and watching different angles of her performance that various audience members had posted. Each video showed a slightly different perspective, but the reaction was always the same. People were moved. They were inspired. They saw something in her that she was only beginning to see in herself. One comment stuck with her particularly. Someone wrote that watching Maria find her voice reminded them to stop hiding their own talents and to take chances in life. The sun was rising by the time Maria finally closed her laptop. She had to be at work in a few hours, but she did not feel tired. She felt energized, alive in a way she had not experienced in years. She thought about calling in sick, but she needed the money and, besides, she did not know what else she would do with her day. Everything would go back to normal soon, she told herself. This was just one amazing night, a beautiful memory to hold on to, but her real life was still waiting. Yet, as Maria prepared for her shift that morning, she found herself humming, then quietly singing. Her voice filled her small apartment, and she realized she had been silent for so long that she had forgotten how good it felt to simply make music. Even if nothing else came from last night, even if she never sang in public again, something inside her had awakened that could not easily be put back to sleep. When Maria arrived at the coffee shop, her co-worker Danny was already there, setting up for the morning rush. The moment he saw her, his eyes went wide and he pulled out his phone. He asked her if she was the woman from the Rebecca Stone concert, showing her one of the viral videos. Maria nodded shyly, and Danny let out a whoop of excitement that startled the early morning customers. He called everyone over and showed them the video. And soon the small coffee shop was buzzing with excitement over their co-workers' unexpected fame. The morning shift at the coffee shop became surreal as customers kept recognizing Maria from the viral videos. Some asked for selfies, others wanted her autograph, and a few even asked if she could sing for them right there in the shop. Maria tried to remain professional, taking orders and making drinks as usual, but it was impossible to ignore the attention. Her manager, Mrs. Peterson, watched the commotion with a mixture of amusement and concern, worried that the disruption might affect business. By lunchtime, the situation had intensified. A local news crew arrived at the coffee shop, asking if they could interview Maria about her viral moment. Mrs. Peterson pulled Maria aside and told her she could take her break early to talk with them. Standing outside the shop with a camera pointed at her face, Maria felt that same nervous flutter she had experienced on stage. The reporter asked her how it felt to become an overnight internet sensation, and Maria struggled to find the right words. She said it still did not feel real, that she was just a regular person who got lucky. The reporter showed Maria her phone, scrolling through thousands of comments and shares. The videos had spread far beyond what Maria had seen on her own laptop that morning. People across different countries were watching and responding. Some music industry professionals had even commented, calling her a raw talent worth developing. The reporter asked if Maria planned to pursue a music career now that she had this platform. Maria honestly did not know. She had not thought that far ahead. Everything was happening so fast. After the interview, Maria returned to work, but her mind was elsewhere. She made mistakes with orders, gave wrong change, and kept checking her phone between customers. The views on the videos kept climbing. Her social media accounts, which she rarely used, were suddenly flooded with new followers and messages. Some messages were from fans expressing support and encouragement. Others were from people claiming to be music producers or talent scouts, offering opportunities she could not verify as legitimate. When her shift ended, Maria walked home in a daze. Her phone rang, and she saw it was an unknown number. Normally she would not answer, but something made her pick up. The voice on the other end was warm and familiar. It was Rebecca Stone. Maria nearly dropped her phone in shock. Rebecca asked how Maria was handling everything, and Maria admitted she was overwhelmed. Rebecca laughed kindly and said she remembered feeling the same way when she first experienced fame, though hers had come more gradually. Rebecca told Maria she had been watching the videos spread across the internet and was not surprised by the response. She said Maria had something special, something authentic, that people craved in an industry often criticized for being manufactured and artificial. Rebecca wanted to know if Maria would be interested in meeting for coffee to talk about her future. Maria agreed immediately, though part of her still could not believe this was actually happening. They arranged to meet the following afternoon at a quiet cafe away from the busy downtown area. When Maria arrived, she found Rebecca already there, wearing sunglasses and a simple outfit that helped her blend in. Without the stage makeup and elaborate costumes, Rebecca looked more approachable, more like a regular person. They ordered coffee and found a corner table where they could talk privately. Rebecca asked Maria about her life, and Maria found herself opening up in ways she rarely did with anyone. She talked about growing up in a small village, about her grandmother who encouraged her singing, and about moving to the city after her grandmother passed away. She explained how survival had become her only focus. how dreams seemed like luxuries she could not afford. Rebecca listened intently, nodding with understanding and occasionally sharing pieces of her own story. Then Rebecca got to the point. She told Maria that the music industry could be cruel and exploitative, especially to people who were not prepared for it. She did not want to see Maria get taken advantage of by people who would use her viral moment for profit, without caring about her well-being or artistic development. Rebecca offered to help Maria navigate this unexpected opportunity if she was interested in exploring music more seriously. Maria felt torn. Part of her wanted to jump at this chance, to see where this path might lead, but another part was terrified. She had responsibilities, bills to pay, a stable job that provided security, even if it did not fulfill her soul. Rebecca seemed to sense her internal conflict. She told Maria that making music did not have to mean abandoning everything else immediately. It could start small, taking voice lessons, recording some songs, building confidence and skills before making any major life changes. Rebecca offered to connect Maria with a vocal coach she trusted, someone who worked with raw talent and focused on developing individual style rather than forcing everyone into the same commercial mold. Rebecca even offered to cover the cost of lessons initially, calling it an investment in someone she believed in. Maria was moved to tears by the generosity, but she also felt the weight of such a gift. She did not want to be a charity case, and she worried about owing someone as famous as Rebecca. Rebecca assured her it was not about charity or debt. She said that successful people had a responsibility to lift others up when they could, that her own career had been helped by mentors who took chances on her. She asked Maria to think of it as paying forward what others had given her. Maria accepted, feeling both grateful and terrified about what she was agreeing to. Over the next few weeks, Maria began voice lessons while still working at the coffee shop. Her coach, a woman named Sandra who had worked with several successful artists, was patient and encouraging. She helped Maria understand her instrument better, teaching her breathing techniques, vocal exercises, and how to protect her voice from strain. Sandra told Maria that her natural talent was undeniable, but talent alone was not enough. Discipline and practice would determine how far she could go. The lessons were challenging. Maria had to wake up early before her coffee shop shifts to practice, and she often went to bed exhausted. But there was also joy in the process. Each lesson brought small improvements, and Maria could hear her voice becoming stronger and more controlled. Sandra recorded their sessions, and Maria listened to the playback, noting her progress and areas that still needed work. Meanwhile, the internet attention began to settle into a steady simmer rather than a boiling frenzy. The initial wave of millions of views slowed, but Maria had developed a genuine following of people who checked her social media, hoping for updates. Some fans created fan accounts dedicated to her, posting and reposting her performance, creating art inspired by her story, and encouraging her to share more music. Maria started posting short videos of herself singing covers of various songs, recorded in her small apartment with just her phone. The production quality was nothing special, but her followers did not seem to care. They appreciated the raw, unfiltered nature of her performances. Comments poured in after each video, with people saying her voice touched their hearts and inspired them to pursue their own buried dreams. One evening, after a particularly long shift at the coffee shop, Maria received a call from Rebecca. The superstar had been keeping track of Maria's progress and wanted to propose something exciting. Rebecca was planning a small acoustic concert at an intimate venue in 2 months, and she wanted Maria to be her opening act. Maria's immediate reaction was panic. Opening for Rebecca Stone, even at a small venue, meant performing in front of hundreds of people who had paid money specifically to see Rebecca. What if they were disappointed? What if she froze like she almost did at the arena? Rebecca anticipated her fears and spent nearly an hour on the phone talking Maria through them. She reminded Maria of how she had transformed on that stage, how she had found courage she did not know she possessed. Rebecca said that growth always felt uncomfortable, that every successful artist she knew had to push through fear to reach the next level. She assured Maria that she would not throw her into this unprepared. They would rehearse together, work with the band, and make sure Maria felt as ready as possible. After much internal debate and a sleepless night, Maria agreed. The next morning, she requested time off from the coffee shop for rehearsals. Mrs. Peterson, who had watched Maria's journey unfold, gave her blessing but also expressed concern. She asked Maria what would happen if the music thing did not work out, reminding her that the coffee shop could not hold her position indefinitely if she kept taking time off. It was a fair point, and Maria knew she was approaching a crossroads where she would soon have to make a real choice about her future. Rehearsals were intensive. Rebecca rented a studio space where Maria could practice with the band that would accompany her. The musicians were all professionals who had played with major artists, and Maria felt intimidated at first. But they were kind and patient, helping her learn how to work with accompaniment, how to communicate what she needed, and how to handle the technical aspects of performing with microphones and monitors. Rebecca attended many of the rehearsals, offering guidance and encouragement. She taught Maria about stage presence, how to connect with an audience, and how to handle nerves. Rebecca shared stories from her own early career, including embarrassing moments and failures that had taught her important lessons. These conversations demystified the music industry for Maria, making it feel less like an impossible dream and more like a challenging but achievable path. As the concert date approached, Maria made a difficult decision. She gave her notice at the coffee shop. Mrs. Peterson was not surprised but was sad to see her go. Her co-workers threw her a small goodbye party, and Danny made a speech about how proud they all were to have known her before she became famous. Maria cried, feeling the weight of leaving behind the security and routine that had defined her life for so many years, but she also felt a thrill of possibility, a sense that she was finally choosing herself and her dreams. The night of the concert arrived too quickly. Maria stood backstage at the intimate venue, a beautifully restored theater with velvet curtains and ornate decorations. Her hands shook as she got ready, and her stomach felt like it was filled with butterflies. Rebecca came by her dressing room and gave her a hug, telling her that nervousness was just excitement in disguise. She reminded Maria to breathe, to trust her preparation, and most importantly, to enjoy the experience. When Maria's name was called and she walked onto that stage, the audience applauded politely, though she could sense their real anticipation was for Rebecca. Maria had prepared a short set of 4 songs, mixing covers with 2 original pieces she had written with Sandra's help. Her originals were simple, heartfelt songs about her journey, about loss and rediscovery, about finding the courage to start over. She began with a cover, her voice a bit shaky at first, but growing stronger with each note. By the second song, one of her originals, she felt the audience leaning in, really listening. The theater's acoustics were beautiful, and Maria could hear every nuance of her voice bouncing back to her. She told a brief story before her third song, explaining how music had once been her everything, then nothing, and was now becoming her everything again. The audience responded with warm applause, and Maria felt their support wrapping around her like a blanket. Her final song was the folk tune she had sung with Rebecca at the arena concert, the one her grandmother used to sing. Maria dedicated it to her grandmother's memory, and as she sang, she felt her grandmother's presence with her, approving and proud. When the last note faded, the audience rose to their feet, giving her a standing ovation that lasted several minutes. Maria took her bow with tears streaming down her face, overwhelmed by the love and acceptance flowing from these strangers. Rebecca came out for her portion of the show and immediately praised Maria, telling the audience they had just witnessed the beginning of something special. Throughout Rebecca's performance, she made several references to Maria, even bringing her back on stage for a surprise duet that had not been planned. The crowd went wild, clearly delighted by the genuine friendship and mutual respect between the 2 women. After the show, Maria was approached by several people from the music industry. Record label representatives, booking agents, and producers all wanted to talk with her about potential opportunities. Rebecca had warned her this might happen and advised her to be cautious, to not sign anything without legal representation, and to remember that she had options and did not need to rush into any decisions. Among the people waiting to speak with her was a woman named Patricia Chen, an independent producer known for working with emerging artists. Patricia had a reputation for integrity and for nurturing talent rather than exploiting it. She told Maria she had been moved by her performance and wanted to discuss the possibility of producing an EP for her. A small collection of 5 or 6 songs that could showcase her voice and style. Unlike the bigger label representatives who made grand promises, Patricia was honest about the challenges ahead and realistic about what success might look like. Maria exchanged contact information with Patricia and several others, promising to follow up after she had time to process everything. That night, lying in her bed in her small apartment, Maria reflected on how dramatically her life had changed in just a few months. She had gone from invisible to visible, from silent to heard, from someone who served others to someone who had something valuable to offer the world. The weeks following the concert were a whirlwind of meetings, decisions, and new experiences. Maria met with Patricia Chen several times, and each conversation deepened Maria's respect for the producer. Patricia was not interested in turning Maria into something she was not. Instead, she wanted to capture what made Maria special, that authentic emotional quality that had moved so many people. They discussed musical direction, timeline, and budget. Patricia proposed a modest project that would be funded independently, giving Maria creative control while keeping expectations realistic. Maria also consulted with Rebecca throughout this process. Rebecca had become more than a mentor. She had become a genuine friend. They would meet for coffee or talk on the phone, and Rebecca would share insights from her own career journey. She warned Maria about the loneliness that could come with fame, the importance of maintaining real friendships, and the need to stay grounded in her values. Rebecca told her that success without authenticity was hollow, and that the moment Maria started changing herself to please others was the moment she would lose what made her special. After careful consideration, Maria decided to work with Patricia on creating her first EP. The recording process was unlike anything she had experienced. In the professional studio, surrounded by talented musicians and sound engineers, Maria felt both excited and intimidated. Patricia guided her through each session with patience, helping her understand how to use the studio as an instrument itself, how to layer vocals, and how to make artistic choices about arrangements and production. Maria recorded 5 original songs for the EP, each one telling a piece of her story. The title track was called Silent Years, a powerful ballad about the time she spent hiding her voice and her journey back to music. Other songs explored themes of loss, hope, migration, and the courage required to pursue dreams when life had taught you to be practical. The folk song her grandmother used to sing was also included, arranged in a way that honored its traditional roots while giving it a contemporary feel. The recording process took 3 months. During this time, Maria moved out of her small apartment into a slightly larger place that Patricia helped her find at a reasonable rent. With the advance money from the EP deal and the income from a few small performances she booked through connections Rebecca provided, Maria could afford to focus on music full-time. It was terrifying to not have the security of her coffee shop job, but it was also exhilarating to wake up each day and spend her time doing something she loved. When the EP was finally finished, Maria listened to the final mixes with tears in her eyes. Hearing her voice professionally produced, supported by beautiful arrangements and captured with clarity and warmth, felt like meeting herself for the first time. Patricia had done an incredible job of preserving the raw emotional quality that made Maria's voice special while elevating the production to a professional level. The EP sounded both intimate and polished, personal and universal. The release strategy was thoughtful and measured. Patricia did not try to create artificial hype or make unrealistic promises about success. Instead, they focused on connecting with Maria's existing fanbase and letting the music speak for itself. Rebecca agreed to share the EP on her social media platforms, giving Maria access to millions of potential listeners. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within days, thousands of people had purchased or streamed the EP, and the reviews from music critics and fans alike were glowing. People praised Maria for her vulnerability, her authentic storytelling, and her unique vocal quality. Several music publications wrote features about her journey from coffee shop worker to recording artist, framing her story as an inspiration about second chances and the power of taking risks. Radio stations began playing her single, and Daria found herself doing interviews with journalists from around the country and even internationally. The success of the EP led to more performance opportunities. Maria was invited to play at music festivals, to open for other established artists, and to perform at venues that had once seemed impossibly out of reach. Each performance helped her grow more comfortable on stage, more confident in her abilities, and more connected to her audience. She learned that performing was not just about having a good voice. It was about creating a moment of connection, about making people feel understood and less alone. Throughout all of this, Maria remained grounded by remembering where she came from. She visited her mother in the countryside and performed a private concert in her childhood village. The community that had known her as a little girl with dreams bigger than their small town celebrated her success with genuine pride and affection. Maria's mother cried through the entire performance, and afterwards she told Maria that her grandmother would have been so proud. That validation meant more to Maria than any commercial success ever could. As the first year of her music career came to a close, Maria reflected on the improbable journey that had brought her here. It had all started with one moment of courage on a stage where she felt completely out of place. That moment had been a doorway, and walking through it had required her to leave behind the safe, small life she had built. The path ahead was still uncertain. She knew that success in music was never guaranteed, that trends changed, and that the industry could be unforgiving. But she also knew that she had already achieved something more important than fame or fortune. She had found her voice again, not just her singing voice, but her true self. The person she was meant to be before fear and circumstance had convinced her to hide. That was a gift that could never be taken away, regardless of what happened with her career. Maria was no longer just surviving. She was living, creating, expressing, and connecting with others in meaningful ways. Rebecca called her one evening to congratulate her on the EP's success and to check in on how Maria was handling everything. They talked for over an hour, laughing about memories from that first night at the arena concert and marveling at how much had changed. Before hanging up, Rebecca told Maria something she would never forget. She said that when she pulled Maria onto that stage, she had not known exactly what would happen, but she had recognized something in Maria's eyes that she saw in her own mirror years ago. It was a hunger for more, a spark that had not been extinguished despite years of neglect. Rebecca said that spark was what made someone an artist, and it could not be taught or manufactured. Maria had always been an artist. She had just needed permission to acknowledge it and the courage to pursue it. Those words resonated deeply with Maria, validating her journey and reminding her that her success was not just luck or being in the right place at the right time. It was the result of a gift she possessed, combined with the bravery required to share that gift with the world despite her fears. As Maria ended the call and looked out the window of her new apartment at the city lights stretching toward the horizon, she felt profound gratitude for the chain of events that had led her here. She thought about all the people who had supported her along the way: Rebecca, Patricia, Sandra, Jenny, her former co-workers, her mother, and the thousands of fans who believed in her. But mostly, she felt grateful to herself for being willing to try, for not letting fear have the final word. The future stretched ahead, full of possibility and uncertainty in equal measure. Maria did not know if she would become a major star or remain a modest success in a niche market. She did not know if her second EP would match the success of the first, or if the opportunities would continue or dry up. What she did know was that she would never again silence herself out of fear. Whatever happened next, she would face it with her voice intact, ready to sing her truth to anyone willing to listen. And that, Maria realized, was the real victory. Not the applause or the streams or the recognition, but the reclamation of herself. She had been lost, and now was found, silent, and now singing, and nothing could ever take that transformation away from her.